Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, depending on where you are. Welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. I'm Tierra Williams, also known as Miss Black Hollywood. And y'all, today I found a topic. I found a topic every day, but today I found something that I thought was super interesting. How the whole phase and the black male promiscuity are keeping black people poor. So we're diving into this conversation and the pressure to conform to sexual stereotypes and we're talking about how the pressure to conform to sexual stereotypes are draining our emotional and financial resources. For black men, the player image, and for the black woman, the expectation of a hoe phase are often seen as rites of passage, but they come with an emotional burnout, health costs, and missed financial opportunities. We'll explore how these societal pressures are keeping us stuck in a cycle of financial instability and why it's time to change the narrative and start building true wealth by prioritizing mental health, stability, and real empowerment. Let's get into it. Now, I can't have this conversation by myself. I have some wonderful, beautiful, amazing queens with me today. If you don't know these ladies, let me introduce you to them because they are here every Wednesday. But No Malenga is here. Am I pointing at you? No Malenga is our M3 is what I call her. M3 advocate. It stands for marriage, motherhood, and money making. Below me, I have my sister friend and my sister in real life, Vanessa Gopal, who is an entrepreneur. I have one of my favorite therapists, if not my favorite therapist in the house, Felice Britt Hightower. Felice Britt Hightower. Or do I have it backwards? Hightower Britt, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I have everything that I need to talk about this conversation. How are you ladies doing today? Y'all can give me a thumbs up, a little wave. Y'all can say hi if you want to. Everybody is good. All right, so let's get into it. So what do you guys feel? And let's just, before we run the video, I just kind of want to get your initial thoughts on whole phases, male promiscuity, like that whole idea and how it affects the black community. I'll start with Nomalinga.
You had to start with me. Hi.
I did.
So I watched some of the videos that you're going to show as the show goes on, and I thought that maybe I'm just getting old because I was getting angry listening to some of that, like that you're supposed to go through some of those phases. And then the sad part is that you get into some stage of life where you kind of ruined your life. And I think that's really sad.
Yeah, I agree with you. I understand. Vanessa, how do you feel about it?
I think that I think that I think that's what's being promoted to young people, like through music and sometimes even movies and film and television, is that of promiscuity oftentimes. But I feel like we are, when you look at a numbers game, coming back to the foundation of family. But I do feel like that foundation needs to be pushed more, and we need to make that cool. Like we need to make that foundation cool because it doesn't really help our community when we're sleeping with 20, 30 different women, and then it doesn't help the women. I mean, really, it's a lose-lose, right, for the man and the woman. Mm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you, Vanessa. Also, chime in. I see double A in the chat. I see people here. So our regulars are in the building. Tell us what you think. What are your initial thoughts on hoe phases and black male promiscuity? I really want to hear what you have to say, Felice, from a mental health aspect.
Well, for mental health, it's, trauma with a big T, right? And it looks like people are trying to turn that trauma into triumph, but in a real perverse way, and trying to say that that's how they're recapturing their power
Mm-hmm.
by now living in this promiscuity. But it's very disheartening to see. And a re education has to come back to our culture and our community, because it's really disheartening to think that we are the epitome of, or the forefront of promiscuity and whole phase. And then you wonder why we're at the bottom of the list due for so many reasons. And it's really rooted in lust, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so we got to really talk about that, get to the root of it, and then uproot it, burn it, throw it out into the nearest ocean and keep it moving and start anew.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. You know what? Let's get into this first video. I want to go ahead and start the conversation off right. So check out this first video.
Why does a man feel like he has to sleep with a lot of women to feel like a man?
It's promoted. I mean, I remember when I lost my virginity, I was with my cousin. We were driving to the store. He says, hey, I'm going to stop by my girlfriend's house. And I believe I think 16 at the time. We go in the house and she has a little sister who was very cute. So he goes in the room and he's having sex, and me and her little sister are talking. When they come out, we get in the car. My cousin's driving. He says, hey, did you have sex with her? I'm like, no. He says, did you kiss her? I'm like, no, I just met her. He was like, you a virgin? I'm like, I haven't had sex before. When we pull up into his house where all my uncles were, my cousins and my mother, he yelled out, hey, Jason's a virgin. The entire house erupted in laughter. So when I looked around at my mother, she was laughing. It made me angry because here it is. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I thought this was the way. I didn't know I had to just have sex with a woman that I don't care about for me to be validated as a man. But that's the culture. That's like the initiation into manhood. As soon as I got back to Detroit, I called a friend who knew a girl who liked me, and I went over the house because I knew I could have sex with her real quick and I can get this stigma up off of me. I didn't even care about her. I had no emotions. I did it because this was what I was taught as a man. You're not a man if you're faithful to one woman, and you're not a man if you're a virgin. So that day I lost my virginity, my mindset shifted. All you can be is strong, provide, or be promiscuous. And this is your identity. We hide behind the suits, the cigars, the cars, the jewelry, the watches. Inside that home, there's a man depressed, on the edge, and possibly suicidal.
Ooh, ooh, y'all. How does that make you all feel? Like, I just want initial responses. I'm going to start with you, Vanessa. What did you think about that video?
That is really interesting. When he said his mama was laughing, I thought, well, damn, what type of family, what type of family? That's my initial thought, because I just can't really imagine that being a laughable moment. But also, I'm not in the lens of a black man in America either. So, I mean, my experience was a little bit different. I feel like women are taught, well, at least I was taught in my day, maybe it's not taught in this day and age, to sort of preserve yourself, and you want to keep yourself, and that's a part of you where you want to hold out as long as possible, But that was really interesting when he said, I looked up and my mom was laughing. Like,
Yeah.
that's the part that stuck out to me, because that video, because when you think about your mom as a protector, you value her opinion, you value, she is pretty much a huge foundation in your life. So it's like, if that person is kind of making it a laughable moment, then of course you wouldn't want to be a virgin. And what does that promote? That you go have a sex with a bunch of girls, and then furthermore, what sex produces, the possibility of having a child, right? And then you see this domino effect. So that's the part that really stuck out to me, and
Yeah.
really shocked me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and just think about it. What if the girl would have gotten pregnant? I think this is the how a lot of Black men have gotten themselves in situations with baby mamas and broken families, feeling like, oh, this is how I validate myself. Let me go have sex with her. I don't care about her. I don't know her name. And then she comes up pregnant, and then you're like, but I don't want a baby with you. I don't know you. I don't like you. I don't know your name. What do you think, Nomalinga, about this video?
So the fact that the whole family laughed when the uncle said that about him shows that they've established dysfunction as a normal. So he now, when he's not being dysfunctional, seems like he's abnormal. And unfortunately, a lot of people, that's the pressure that they're under, where if you're trying to be good, if you're trying not to be dysfunctional, people are seeing you as abnormal, they're making fun of you, and it pressurizes you to do things that work against your interests. And I also think it's interesting that we talk about emotional and financial, the ramifications of it, but you also have spiritual, and you can, in the physical, you can put on protection or whatever, or have prevent pregnancies, but there are things that you cannot prevent because there is no protection and you're wide open. And it's very damaging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, it's so funny. And even as a 40-year-old woman, right? I have spent a lot of years celibate. A lot of my adult life, I've been like, I'm not having sex with nobody, right? Unless I'm in a committed relationship. And it's so funny that adult women will be like, girl, but what you be doing? And I mean, like, how do you get what you need? I mean, so how long are you gonna stay like that? Like, there's a pressure even with that and then you feel like, okay, well, I guess I should go out and have somebody to hang with. And, I'm not saying that there's not always like, there's not a need, and I understand it. But just thinking about what you said, Noma, it made me think about how even as a grown woman, I've been pressured to have sex when I've been like, no, I'm trying to hold out. Felice, what do you think about that video?
It was refreshing to see a young man come forward and be transparent about what that experience was like for him, and that he didn't glorify it, but actually has some shame behind it. So it was refreshing to see that, and that it's possible that a lot of our young men also felt like that. But peer pressure is real. And it's not just among our friends, but it's also among our family. And so what I sensed his mother was feeling in that moment was peer pressure from the family, where that was a part of their culture, where that was shared and known, that a man to be a virgin wasn't a good thing. And so I don't think that she possibly really meant to do it, but people do what the group is doing as well. And so I think that he also has something deeper besides the anger. That's what he could recognize at first, but I'm sure it went even deeper. And I would love to hear from other men to come forward and say what that really was like, because in my profession, I've also heard how a lot of men don't believe that they were molested. But they were. So many of our young men have been molested, but it's been glorified because it was these older women who introduced them to something that they weren't developmentally ready to process or wrap their heads around. And so that is molestation. That was some kind of sexual assault that is not to be glorified. And so a lot of those things, like Nomalanga was saying, it's a spiritual thing that happens, right? I mean, and I'm not trying to get spiritual, and I know a lot of people are not necessarily into that, but in the Christian faith, sex is a spiritual act. You connect with someone and their spirit. And so you got a lot of ridiculous spirits floating around here because it was done without wisdom. It wasn't done in love, because anything outside of marriage is a very selfish act. And so it's a very selfish act to engage with somebody outside of the marriage.
Wait a minute. Wait. Before you go on, it's time for me to go to a break, because I want us to eat off of all of that you just said, right? And I also want to ask the men in the chat, have you felt this peer pressure that Felice is talking about? Have you felt, when did you feel like, I got to start having sex around here, or I'm going to look like a punk, or like like, you know, not worthy of whatever it is that men need to look cool, or like I'm with the in crowd. So while everybody kind of thinks about what Dr. Felice said, let's go to break. We'll be right back. Woo! It's a good show right here. But I'm biased. If you are just tuning in, you are watching Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. My name is Tiara Williams. I'm also known as Miss Black Hollywood, and I'm the proud producer of this show because it is lit. If you want to receive notifications for when we go live Monday through Friday, 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All you have to do is text the word Queens to 87948. That's Queens to 87948. That's QUEENS to 87948. Also, if you want to grow your money and not blow your money, all you have to do is go to flynubianmoney.com. There's all kinds of resources, there's courses, there's free giveaways. There's just no reason to be broke in 2025. All you have to do is go to flynubianmoney.com. Obviously, you don't want to be entertained here. You want to know enough to grow. Wait, I need to put that on a shirt. You got to know to grow. Got to know to grow. So know and grow with flynubianmoney.com. Yes. So welcome back, y'all. So we were talking, and I wanted to see what some of the men in the chat had to say about this conversation. And so Armando Wall says, so these older women are turning young men out? Absolutely. They're not even turning them out. They are abusing them. They are taking advantage of them. So Stable 08 says, I was never one to kill and tell. Okay. Juanita, hey Juanita, I met Juanita at the Economic Elevation Summit over the weekend. I love this brother in interview. He shares so deeply and did share his faith in the interview. I feel no pressure about being celibate, but I'm older and I don't have time to play with God. Amen. Amen. All right. So, Dr. Felice, you were saying something. Did you want to finish your thought before I go to this next thought?
No, you're okay.
Okay. All right. So I think somebody said something that reminded me, or actually it's going to take us into our next video. And let me see if I can see it. It was asking about whether it was American or Caribbean men. And I think that's so interesting when I think of culturally what's taught in different places. Nomalanga, is this also a pressure that happens in Botswana, or that you've seen in, on the continent in general?
Unfortunately, yeah. There is that thing of when you have a lot of women, you're a stud or a player, it's acceptable, or even something to brag about. And unfortunately, I have not been anywhere where I didn't meet Black men that didn't think that way.
Where did it come? I mean, listen, I know. Can anybody tell me, like, the inception of this whole idea where we stepped away from the idea of family? I know if I talk to some men, they would say, "Oh, it's not normal. It's not natural to be monogamous, and it's normal for everyone to have variety because of the way the animal kingdom is set up." What are your thoughts about that, Vanessa?
I just think that celibacy and faithfulness is a sacrifice. It's not like it comes naturally. Like, we all have biological urges to even go out and do things sometimes. It's just, but I think it's the commitment part, and the thing that's bigger than that is understanding that the foundation of family is built upon this very important thing. So you redirecting and doing your own thing and going this way, that way, is really messing up the community, the foundation of family, which is so important to the culture. So I feel like it's natural. I agree. I think it's natural for when you're at a certain age, or throughout all the ages. I'm in my 40s. Like, people get horny, like they feel like they need to be sexually pleased. You want to have an orgasm. Like, that's a very natural thing. But I think the bigger thing is having the willpower to understand that, I don't have to give that to everyone and lay down with anyone. And that's a special thing, and that thing can create or make a foundation that's way bigger than me, right? That's way bigger than you know, because you see it in other cultures. And I'm not saying, because I feel like we were talking about the Black community, but white men cheat, Indian men cheat. You know, I think it's a global thought process of like having women gives you this this whatever macho-ness or this coolness, and you get certain men that kind of understand, like, you know, we see Russell Williams, everybody be like, oh, you better get Sierra's prayer. But I feel like those are the things that we need to be promoting to our boys and our women. Like, that's cool. You know, I love when I see social media posts about them, or about, you know, people that are with their, especially younger people that are married and in committed relationships, you know, Steph Curry, Aisha. I love that because I think it promotes the coolness and the foundation of family, because it's so important. So I mean, I just think it's bigger. It's a sacrifice, and it's just something that you have to be disciplined in, right?
Yeah.
Because it's bigger than you. Even though it's a natural thing, right? I could go out. I'm married. I could go out and have a moment, be at a club, have a drink, and be, you know, just, but it's a natural thing to feel a certain way, but it's also a order of discipline that needs to occur in our community, that we understand that this one thing shouldn't create the type of effect that it's doing in our community.
Yeah, I would like to go to this next video, and I want to get your thoughts after that, Dr. Felice, about you know, just more on this topic, obviously. But I want to ask you a question based on this video. Go ahead and roll that second video, please.
From our culture, it is expected that you need to have a side piece.
Why, Davian?
In our culture, if you don't have a side piece, something is wrong with you.
No.
Tonio,
No,
don't look
David.
at me and tell me, say, yo, if you go to your bridging them and say, yo, man, they not ask, you know, where's your girlfriend? Them say, how much girl you have? How much? How much?
Is a expectation, yes.
It's a cultural expectation. And,
but
hold on now. And on the other side, the women, sometimes, them expect you to have multiple women as well.
I will agree with that part. And one thing is that I've had experiences where, for example, a girl will not want you if she see that other girls don't want you.
See,
when she see that other girls want you, I guess it means you have something desirable.
It means other girls want you. I love that. So, Dr. Felice, what do you say? What do you say about this? Like, there is something to be said about seeing somebody who might be a nerd and be like, he is, and then you see a girl surround him, and it's like, well, maybe he is cool, or you got to wait for validation from other people. What do you think about that video?
I think it also stirs up the challenge side of us, because I think the men do it too. Like, all of a sudden, they don't necessarily find the one they're with that interest in, but as soon as somebody starts sniffing around you, it you know, the challenge comes on. He's like, okay, and you turn into a possession. But I also think that it's a sign of immaturity, right? A lot of times when we're younger, and you know, I'm going to attest to that. And part of my immaturity, it also came from the trauma that I experienced and the abandonment that I felt around my dad, right? And so I was looking for my dad in other men because I didn't know the full story. I didn't have full understanding about all of that. And so I glorified certain aspects about my father because of the lack of information that I had. And what did I do? I replicated that, trying to find men or attracted to men who had my dad's edge, who had his ability to knock somebody out or whatever you call it, right? And literally where I did not find men who didn't have edge attractive. And that was a sign of my immaturity and my lack of understanding of what it means and what to look for in an individual as a potential partner. That some of those things really don't matter. And some of those things don't create a healthy relationship. And so as I got older, and you know, fortunately, sometimes, and God is so good, because he'll have you in a season where you start figuring some stuff out.
That's right.
And so I believe that it was my season, my dry season. I tell everybody it was like the Saharan desert. Okay. And so, but I started learning and turning inward about myself and what it was that I really wanted and desired. And I started liking men who were trustworthy. I started appreciating men who honored their word. If they said they was going to call me, they called me. If they said that they was going to take me out, they actually showed up and took me out.
That's right.
They would open my door. They would make sure I walked on the inside of a street. They thought about me. And if there was any doubt, they tried to remove any and all doubt. Those were the things that I started really relishing and appreciating in men. And it happened to be the men who didn't necessarily have this edge, or this roughness about them. And so I do think that sometimes in our preparation season, that we really start to grow and go inward and figure out who we are and what it means to be us, so that we can start seeing our men differently and completely, so that we can give ourselves and them a chance for us to connect.
Ooh, I love that. I saw something recently that said that we don't date our type, we date our trauma. And so I hold on to that, and I'm gonna keep holding on to it, because and be mindful of the things that I'm attracting and attracted to. With that being said, I know you're busy, you got things to do, and you can't take us on the go with you every single day. Good news for you, we are now on Spotify. So if you can't watch us, now you can listen to us on Spotify. Search Fly Nubian Money, and all the episodes shall appear. All you have to do is like, subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, leave some comments, tell people how you love us, so that when other people come along and are looking for a great show to watch, they can find Fly Nubian Money too. One last thing, and just in case you've been sitting under a rock, Fly Nubian Money now has an investment club. We are the Fly Nubian Money Club. It's easy. All you have to do is go to flynubianmoneyclub.com, and I am committed to bringing in top experts from all industries to help you level up. They're teaching us the skills that we need to compete in this market. We often say that nobody is coming to save us, not the government, but guess what? We're coming to save us. I'm coming to save you with the Fly Nubian Money Club. So listen, all you have to do again is go to flynubianmoneyclub.com. We have a 30-day free trial set up just for you, just for those people that are struggling. Even if you ain't struggling, you ain't got to struggle. I'm coming. Okay, let me stop playing. I'll see you soon.
He's coming back.
So you said something, Dr. Felice, that really that I really believe it's a maturity thing. And I think, just to piggyback on that, I definitely think it's a maturity thing. But the interesting thing is, like, when I was younger, I would same thing. I wanted the guy on the edgy guy, the one that looked like a thug, like he was hard. And it's just psychologically, when I think about it as an adult, I'm like, what the hell were you thinking? Why would you ever want someone who doesn't call you back when they say they're going to call you back, who doesn't show up when they say they're going to show up? And then it creates this sort of insecurity within yourself. And then you feel like, you're less than for the next person and for the next person, versus when you meet someone that follows through and they do the things that they should be doing, and that you feel loved and treated and respected. It's like, thinking back to that, it's just going back to, yeah, maybe there was some trauma to make someone want to go after that. So I think it's so important that, when we're raising our girls, that we teach them that we make that look cool, that this is the cool thing. This is, it's dope for a man to, if he say he gonna call you at 3:00 and that phone rings at 3:00, you might want to give him an extra hour on the phone, or give him some extra time, versus this person trying to run around and be a player. Because I feel like if women change the trajectory of who they go for, like if they go for the nerds and the good guys, them bad guys gonna eventually come over, because they're gonna be looking like they got all the bad ones.
Yeah.
Because that's how I was listening to something Brother Nuri was saying, where he was like, if women start demanding rings and start having standards, then believe me, the men will change. They will start changing. You keep it closed and locked up, they will adjust. So I think it's the same thing as what the foundation of what we teach our girls. And not saying it's all on the girls, because I do believe them. I'm not trying to just make this about a woman thing, but I'm a woman, so I'm speaking from a female lens. I feel like if we teach our girls to shape in their head to just go after that guy that we figured out late 30s, early 40s was the good guy, if we teach that very early on, then we'll start seeing, I think, a better foundation of family in our community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. I
I love
think some
that.
of these things have to be put into our face, He's talking about how other men, those two Caribbean men when they were talking, he's talking about how other men think you're not normal if you don't have what they call the side piece. But if you put it in plain language, he's really saying, okay, if you're not hurting your wife, you're not normal. If you're not bringing diseases potentially to your wife, you're not normal. If you're not bringing demons and God knows what kind of spirits into your marriage, you're not normal. So that's normal. But people don't talk about it that way. They just kind of make it sound like fun. And I remember we used to have a show some years ago, and one of the things we used to always emphasize is don't play with sex. It's nothing to play with. And again, we tend so much to focus on the physical thing, like, okay, you might get pregnant, you might get a disease, but some people are damaged for the rest of their lives because of their sexual encounters. Some people are dealing with spirits that are harming them and hindering them and doing all kinds of things to them that they don't realize are in play in their lives, and they don't understand why things are happening in their lives. I'm not trying to push the the show all the way into like a spiritual rabbit hole, but that's real. It's the
That's
truth.
real.
There are people who don't understand why they can't get on in life, and sometimes they feel like I'm a good person, and you hear it all the time. I'm a good person. I mean, I went to college. I did everything right. I love my mom. I do everything right, and I don't understand. Well, I can explain it to you. There's some spirits roaming around in your life that you've invited into your life, or somebody that you dealt with invited into your life, and now they've taken over and they're having a field day, and there's nothing that you can do in your life until those things have left.
I love
So
that.
I think that needs to be brought to the forefront of these conversations.
Yeah, soul ties are real. I mean, I watched a video that scared the life out of me a couple years ago, and it basically was just saying, like, every person that you allow into your body, their DNA stays in your body for a certain amount of years. So even if 15 years later you thinking like, oh, I'm over that person, there's a piece of them that is still in your body. And so we really never and we are never unconnected emotionally from that as well. So what you're saying is absolutely right. I want to go to before I go to the next video, I want to go to a few stats. Let's go to those stats. All right. A 2020 study by American Psychological Association found that 60% of Black men report experiencing mental health challenges related to societal pressures surrounding masculinity, including issues tied to financial success, promiscuity, and emotional expression. Can we hold back really quick? Because this is a mental health slide, I want to get an idea, like, what are some of those pressures, like, right? So I feel like it's very it's all connected. Let me get my thoughts together. It's very connected, right? In the sense where if you spend most of your time running around chasing women and all you can think about is your next, your addiction to sex and maybe alcohol and drugs and whatever it is, it kind of puts you in a place where you can't really level up financially. You can't really kind of get to the bag and get to yourself and be whole, because you're so distracted by all the things, all the pressures. Dr. Felice, what do you say about that?
So where your focus is, that's what grows, right? So his focus isn't about building legacy and building wealth. So that's not where his actions are directed towards, and so that doesn't grow and it lacks. So what does grow is his addiction and her addiction. And so you have to come back in. First of all, you got to seek out help, right? Because sometimes it's just some things that, and when I say help, I mean, I believe in the ultimate power, like God, first and foremost, and then the people that he puts into your life to be a help to you, which are counselors, therapists, doctors. And so go seek some help professionally that will give you tools, right? That would help you to regain focus, clarity, introspection, self-awareness, right? Because a lot of times people are doing things like Norma Longo was saying, where they said, I'm a good person, I just don't know. Well, there's somebody who can point you in a direction that will help you to start knowing, that will give you an idea about where to start, what tools you need to get you on the right track. And then you need to surround yourself around like-minded community, people who are doing and going in the same direction. Because what happens is that the healing that you're beginning, the universe is going to test you, is going to say, okay, so you say you want to be healed, huh? And so you're going to start getting tests, and tests are not always bad things. Tests are just to give you an idea of where you really are. And so you want to surround yourself with people who are going to help you pass your tests, because you will get distracted. You're going to get those people, those familiar spirits are going to start roaming around you and saying, hey, here I am. And they look good. They smell good. They're familiar. We always have to fight going back to the familiar. Yeah. And so you got to surround yourself with people who be like, girl, let's go. We're going to go here. We're going to do this, so that you can stay on track and pass your test. Because when you flunk tests, you get discouraged. And you believe that it doesn't work, but it's not true, right? It does still work. All you got to do, right? A just man falls 7 times. And what does he do? He gets back up. So you got to dust yourself off, and you got to get back up, and you got to do the tools. You got to do and stay with the community that's going to encourage you to keep going to your next level.
You said so many great things. You said so many good things. I want to sit on that for a second. It's so good. So good. What do you think about that, Vanessa? Like, what do you think about what Dr. Felice is saying about, just what is your response to that?
I mean, I remember saying very early on, my aunt's birds of a feather flock together. So let me tell you something. That is the realest comment ever. When I was doing things that didn't work for me, I was flocking with the wrong birds. And when I started doing things that worked better for me, I was flocking with the right birds. So the moral of the story is, even if you don't have a clear pathway of what you need to be doing, get around someone that you might want to be like, or you might want to emulate. If it's family if you seek to be a family man, then get you some men that value family, get you some brothers that value family, and that have, that carry a self-worth with them. Because when you see a man and he's a family man and he has his wife and his children, he takes pride in that. There's a certain level of respect and honor that comes with that. So if that's what you seek to be, then you go, but you find someone, find your village and be around that. And that's going to help you bring your goals of how you want to become a family man. And same thing with women. I feel like, if you trying to say you want to be in a relationship or you want to meet a good guy, but you at the club every Friday night, not saying you can't find a guy at the club on a Friday night, but the probability of you finding one that you want to come by and he's seeking, drinking, turning up, that's probably not going to be the place where you find a good man. You might want to go hang out do some family stuff. You might want to hang out with a guy that's coming to the family stuff, because he may be looking like old school, so-and-so is single. And so I just feel like it just, what Dr. Felice is going back to is birds of a feather flock together. And you can always take a look at your tribe and pretty much is guaranteed they flocking together doing the same thing, good or bad. So, I don't,
I love it.
That's what I think.
I love it. We're going to sit on that. Who you hanging around? That's my question for you in the chat. Who are you hanging around, and what are they encouraging you to do? We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Are you a Black business owner looking to expand your reach? Well, has Fly Nubian Money got good news for you? We are building a Black business directory to connect you with customers who need your services. And here is the best part. It is absolutely free. Email us at info@realvirtual.net. Send us your business name. Tell us a little bit about what you do, what services you offer, your website address, and your contact information. That's it. Together, we are going to build and circulate the Black dollar. Get listed today and start connecting with people who are probably already looking for you.
Yes,
I
welcome
love
back.
Gwen's
Welcome back.
voice.
Yeah, I know, right? That soothing voice. I need Gwen to make me an affirmations video just like that I can listen to every day. Welcome to Fly Nubian Money. Welcome back, y'all, to Fly Nubian Money. We are talking about Black male promiscuity and whole phases in women and men and how it is keeping our community behind. It's keeping us poor. So, it's so interesting. I was thinking about as you all were talking about how sometimes there's these chemicals in the body that are released that have us thinking one way, but it's really something else. So you know how some people say like, "Oh, I got butterflies, girl. He give me butterflies," but really that's anxiety, and your body's nervous system is telling you to run. Or we think that like, "Oh, that man has some mystery," but that's avoidance and distance, and likely he doesn't like you. And this also pertains to the men too. I'm not just talking, but I'm talking about from a woman's point of view. Sometimes we get caught up in choosing those types and doing that because I think in the body is telling you one thing, but really it's telling you think it's telling you one thing, but it's telling you another. Let's go to this next video because now we're gonna talk about the women. We're gonna talk about these whole phases and what it means and how we can do better. Let's go to that next video.
Why y'all gonna assume everybody in the club is hoes?
But
I don't think that's what they're saying.
You don't think everybody's a hoe at one point in their life, though?
No. No.
95%.
No.
99.
I just wanted to hear the answer.
Not at all.
I agree with Amanda, and it is not no 99%. Damn.
What is
She's not damn.
What is what?
Maybe.
Let's see what Google because we know Mary ain't never been no hoe, right, Mary?
Damn right.
That Marie that used to wear them little skimpy outfits.
But that doesn't mean
Skimpy outfits.
Okay, so
Somebody bring the throwback picture out. I want to see that. Bam.
Okay, so because I wore a skimpy outfit, I'm a whore.
Whoa.
You say whore?
I like
that.
Different. Tell her about your good body. She could wear a skimpy outfit if she want. I be wearing skimpy outfit. My body looks good. Why can't I wear? That does not mean I'm a whore or I'm a hoe because you find me in the club with my cheeks out.
First of all, whore and hoe is different. Like
If you got it,
All right, but hold on a second. But what does hoe mean?
You're talking about somebody who is,
Hoe is life.
a promiscuous
Sound like you,
person
Riley.
who's having sex
That's a
with-
whore.
Yeah, that's a whore. A hoe
Okay,
and a hoe
so
is different.
Define what's a hoe.
What is the difference?
What's a hoe?
Whore and hoe is different.
Oh, please define.
Like, a whore is guaranteed fuck. It don't matter where she go.
Oh, wow.
She's getting fucked.
Did she dress promiscuously and whatnot?
Of course,
You
but
don't have to though.
yeah, but like,
You gotta be you could
That's
dress.
what
don't
I'm
have to
wondering. So is it more of an appearance or like?
no,
Tatiana.
it doesn't matter where she go. Somebody hitting it.
Okay.
Whore.
And what's a hoe?
A hoe is one that could, be promiscuous. It's a potential. You know what I'm saying?
An appearance thing as well.
It's an appearance and a behavior thing, and then there's also, you also need some type of, sexual activity that has to be. She might not be having sex, but she might be giving top. You know what I'm saying? Like, which to me is still a body. Yeah. Yeah.
Is it?
I feel like they're the.
And honestly, a whore, they say, well, I don't know about here, but they say whore in different countries is the ones that you pay. You can pay a whore. They're a prostitute. So it also.
Pay a hoe?
That's a prostitute.
I mean, you could pay a hoe, but you pay a hoe with a good time.
Not everybody needs a mic, y'all. Not everybody needs a mic.
Right. And then what I find most interesting is that they kept asking him to define. They're asking a man to define what a hoe and a whore is. Like, why do you get to define these things? Like, I'm just like, so do you, like, is it at the discretion of like, oh, when you reach 5, that means you're a hoe? Or is it like, I mean, it's just crazy that men, like, you're determining what the promiscuous level for me constitutes that I'm a hoe at. It's just, That whole
It
clip
was
just kind
it
of
was a lot.
infuriated
I
me a
think
little
they
bit.
thought they ate. I think they
I,
thought they were eating and they were not. The girl
I
when
think
she
it's teaching us something.
yeah.
I
I
think it's
mean,
teaching us something.
tell me. Tell us.
Women, like she's saying, why does a man get to define where a hoe is? Because they have standards. They will decide, they will sleep with 100 women and then decide, well, when I marry, I want a woman that's XYZ, and he will stick to that standard, right? So he defines for himself like what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, what's this, what's that. Whereas us women, we're more open to we're more open-minded in terms of what we'll accept into our lives, which is why it's very, very important for us to, the two ladies have already said it, like, okay, as I matured, I realized that, okay, what I thought it was exactly the opposite of what I should be looking for in terms of a decent partner and so forth. But men have it down packed. They know, like, they'll look at a girl and think, I'm just gonna hit it and quit it. They'll look at that one and say, oh, she's a nice girl, but I'm not ready for commitment. They assess all the time. With us women, we're more open to, like, okay, maybe, he seems like a jerk, but maybe, he's really nice deep down inside and all that kind of stuff. And that's just the truth, because people it's true, because then women will be having these exes or the father of their child, and people will be like, girl, what were you thinking? And the thing is, she was thinking that even though he showed her something bad about himself, we kind of have this thing where we want to look for the good in somebody or find something that we can appreciate in somebody. And personally, I think that has to stop. We have to teach our girls to do better in that sense. The last thing I'm going to say is that when we're talking about kind of avoiding bad crowds, avoiding bad people, avoiding bad relationships, the most important thing and the wise thing to do is clearly identify what is good and move towards what is good. And you will naturally, or what is not good will naturally fall away if you're really focused and going in the direction and are really clear about what you want and what is good for you. Then the other stuff kind of falls away. If you understand, I want to be around these kind of people, then you're not going to have time for the other kinds of crowd. If you understand that I want this kind of person, and you know how to recognize that person, when someone who comes that doesn't have those qualities, it's easy to say, you know what, I'm sure somebody else will appreciate you, but not here. Sorry.
Yeah.
I want us to get I want our girls to get so good at, like, just looking at a clip like that and be like, oh, that's not for me ever in life. Like, that ain't for me. Objectifying women. I mean, the same person that's sitting on the panel saying, oh, she a hoe. He's probably chasing the hoes, trying to hit, adding numbers, bragging about it. That you just tell that's the type of person that he is. And it's very important that our girls just instantly can identify that and be like, nah, never. Nah,
I mean,
he
but
can't sit with
also,
me.
Can I interject?
right. But also, I was about to say really quick, we have to also, as the women, lead from a certain place and understand the way we're being perceived. Because she was like, just because I dress in a simpy outfit and my cheeks is out doesn't mean I'm a hoe. Like, ma'am, yes, it does. Like, it
Yes,
means
it
that you
does.
are
Yes,
giving
it does.
it's giving a certain give that is not,
I disagree.
it's not saying, okay, all right, well, I mean, it's definitely, if you look at a woman with her behind out and it's attracting a certain kind of energy, regardless if you want that energy or not, you're attracting a certain kind of man, is what I'm saying, that's going to treat you a certain kind of way, period. And it's going to be the hoe, regardless.
And even a good
like, oh,
man,
wife her.
even a good man will look at
But
you.
I think we're not being fair in the age, because when 18, 20, 21, your college years, you're going to wear stuff that's maybe a little bit skimpy. Your body's a little bit different. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're a hoe, and that doesn't
Yes, it
necessarily
does.
mean you could be you could be with a good guy. Now, it's levels to this. Now, I'm not saying go out looking like Suki, right?
It means you're going to attract.
But I'm saying men will objectify a woman no matter what. A certain type of men will look at a woman if she has little shorts on, which girls wear all the time, right? There's tons of young 21-year-old, 22 wearing the little shorts with the little crop top, which is in. A certain type of man will always objectify a woman no matter whether she's sleeping with someone, whether she's not, because he is a certain type of individual off top. Now, if you running around in a bikini, you got everything showing, that's fine. But I just feel like it's unfair to say across the board, if females wear a certain look, then they're a hoe, or they're perceived as a hoe. I just think that I don't think that all men. I mean, because you would literally have to say every 20-year-old is a hoe.
Felice. Go ahead, Felice, because Felice hasn't been able to talk.
I think we live in a wannabe alternate universe. There has never been a space in time where it has been fair between men and women, and this generation is trying so hard to make it fair, and it's not. The standard will always be with women. And I had a philosophy teacher, and I shared this with y'all before, that he said, you always know the standard and the state of a country by its women. And so every great nation that has ever fallen and fell from their prominence was because of the standard of their women. And so we always bear the higher burden. Yes, we don't want to be a hoe and have our butt cheeks out. Well, it don't work like that. I know you want it to, but it doesn't. And as we're talking now, we're still talking about how the standard falls on the woman. But we also have an obligation to start training and teaching our sons as well. And we have to start telling our sons how to be respectful of women. And that what you necessarily see may not necessarily be them. It's a representative, but it's not their true self. We could also say about the men with the flashy gold and the cigars, but that's not really them. That's their representative. We could say the same thing, but the standard will always fall on the women. And if you want to live in an alternate universe, please do, but it's not here. And so it does fall on us. So we have the greater responsibility because we are the ones that are going to hold the baby for 9 months, not them. But you don't see us charging the throat saying, can we get men under 18 to get vasectomies? We're not doing that. The standard will fall on us. No, it's not fair. Well, welcome to unfair, because that's it. And if you don't want to be a hoe, then don't go out with your butts out. If you don't want people to perceive you as a hoe. Yeah. If you don't want them to perceive you, now that's perception and reality, right? We play with that. But that is the deal. If you go outside and your buttocks are showing, you're going to be judged, not just by men, but by women too. Is it fair? No. Is it the truth? Possibly. No. But you have to pay the price. And you know that before going out. And it's attention that you're seeking. You're wearing your butts out because you want attention.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're a hoe, but it means you want attention. But then you get upset when the attention goes awry or when it goes left, because that man already does not have self-control, which is you're talking about. They already don't have self-discipline. And we're not helping them to get self-discipline when I go out with my booty showing. So I'm just saying that we all have a responsibility. We as women to understand that our bodies are beautiful and holy temples, and that we must represent it accurately. And that if we want it to be treated with respect, we must first show ourselves respect. And I don't know how you tell me that I'm a beautiful Black queen with my ass out. And that is respectful to myself, even if I'm 18. Because as a good mother, Vanessa, which you are not going to tell an 18-year-old.
No, I'm not telling. See, that's the difference. I'm not. Now, I'm telling my daughter, I don't want you going out with your ass out. But what I'm saying realistically is that there's an age category where girls just wear shorter skirts, where they wear skimpier stuff when they go out. We're not talking about Suki. I'm not talking about Suki. I'm not talking about, but I am just talking about a type of men. The type of a man that is like sitting on that panel will objectify a woman just in what is a normal, maybe fitted dress for a girl just trying to look pretty, or a little 20-year-old wearing little shorts like we all do. Like, my niece wears cute little shorts, right? But it ain't nothing fast. But I'm saying a certain type of man will always be an asshole in that sense. And that's what I feel like we got to teach our girls not to look for that. Now, I'm not talking about you walking out in bikinis, but if we're being honest, when you're going to college, when you're 18, 19, 20, I'll tell my daughter, I don't want you wearing this till you blue in the face. But I know she's going to she ain't going to go to the club in no burqa. Like, I know that. But I also feel like if you have self-value for yourself, and you have expectations and a level of self-respect for yourself, then it don't matter, because you gonna pick the right type of guy anyways. You don't really care about what it is, somebody's perception, or if you ain't sleeping with the person and you want to wear your little skimpy dress and go to the club and have fun with your friends because you 21 and you in college, but you doing what you got, you doing what you supposed to do, you getting good grades, you whatever, you doing what you supposed to do, and you have self-value and self-worth. I just feel like that should be more focused on than what females wear, because we can also look at these countries with women dressed up head to toe and they getting they're not respected either. So you can go from, far range to you can go from far right to far left, but I feel like there's a balance. We can't just say it's all in the way that women dress, because young women are going to dress like, young girls are going to wear their little short skirts.
Can you admit this though, y'all, that there is, in this day and time, I think women are trying to control the narrative. And so they're trying to take the power and give themselves and empower themselves, but they're doing it inaccurately. It's not a fact that they are wanting it to have, because it's not meant to, right? Your power is intrinsic. It's not necessarily outward. And so you trying to get your power back by having your butt cheeks out and be able to sleep with as many men and top the men that the men are doing.
Well, wait, not sleep. I didn't say sleep with. I'm just talking about dressing.
No, I'm just saying.
Wait. Okay. Well, okay. This is good. This is good. I'm gonna wrap this conversation up in a minute, and I want y'all to save those thoughts for your final thoughts. But I do want to just say really quick, Dr. Felicia, I was gonna say that, when we look at the Megan Thee Stallions and the women showing up with like sheer outfits on with their titties out and their butt out. You can see their butt, you can see their breasts, you can see every part. There's nothing left to the imagination anymore. And so I think a part of that has come from, back in the 90s, we used to say, like, rap songs used to be like, oh, that bitch, that hoe, that bitch, that hoe, bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks, and all of these things. I think at some point the women rappers was like, I'll take it. And I'll start calling my friend bitches. And I'll start calling myself a bitch. And I'll start dressing like a hoe. And I'll call myself a hoe. I mean, literally, there's women that be like, I hear women calling each other hoes and bitches all day. And I think it's just something to be said about the way we've been trained. And so let's go ahead and actually let me look through the last bit of these stats, because my producer is gonna kill me. My co-producer is gonna kill me. So I'm gonna read the stats and then we're gonna go to final thoughts. Okay, a 2019 report by the Media Insight Project found that 65% of Black women felt societal pressures to perform sexual and relationship norms promoted on social media, leading to emotional strain, anxiety, and financial instability in both personal and professional lives. Okay, according to somebody, because I can't see it because something's in the way, Black women are more likely to experience emotional burnout when expecting to conform to sexual stereotypes like a hoe phase. The pressure contributes to a higher likelihood of mental health issues, which in turn affects financial decision making and overall well-being. Is that it? Okay. According to the National Institute of Health, shows that the stress of conforming to societal expectations of masculinity, including promiscuity, directly correlates with financial instability, leading to poor decision making regarding money, investments, and savings. So my final question to you all, and you can kind of wrap this into your final thought, and also tell us where everyone can find you and where you are and what you're doing. I guess the question is this: if this is affecting us and if this whole phase or toxic Black male promiscuity, or men feeling like they have to be the player image and all of that, how do we take this back? How do we roll it back? How do we reclaim and become a community that can focus on things that are just not sexual, and whether she's a hoe or not, or whatever that is? Like, how can we kind of reclaim and really just like restore what's most important, which is probably family, having real value, so how do we do that, ladies? I'm gonna start with you, Nomalinga.
So when we were on the conversation about whether, it's okay for butt cheeks to be out and whatnot, one of the things that I wanted to say was, if we can expand the conversation a little bit and not rely on an 18-year-old or a 21-year-old to decide for themselves how they represent themselves. There should be a standard set for them in their family. And ideally, it should be by their parents. And I know for a fact there is no father who's going to say, go on out, baby girl, take out those cheeks. It don't matter. If he's a good man, he'll know that your cheeks are out, but actually you're not a hoe and all that. No, they want the child or their daughter to go out and represent them well. They want her to represent herself well. When I was growing up, I won't be too long-winded, but I will say when I was growing up, my father used to say that every single time that you step out of the house, you're not just representing yourself, you're representing our whole family because you carry our family name. And that stuck with me, And then over the years, you'll hear people say, oh, you're so bougie, you're so prissy, you're so this. But it was coming from them recognizing that there was kind of a standard that I held myself to. And I think that's important for our young people now, that we establish standards for them as their parents, as families. And I think that goes a long way. Do they get into trouble? Do they do stuff? Of course they do. They're 18, they're 19, they're 20, they're away at college. They might make bad decisions sometimes, but you would hope that you set a standard where they know what is right and what is wrong and still come back to it. And I think that's very important. If you want to know where you can find me, a Facebooker, I'm at Facebook with this name, Nomalangam Charlie Moses. You can also find me on Instagram as Noma Moses. And I do also have my own YouTube channel under Nomalangam Charlie Moses.
And then you have Pads for Our Girls.
Yes, I do. We do have a charity that we founded here in Botswana called Pads for Our Girls, where we actually take care of period poverty. We supply sanitary pads for young girls who are poor or are in need. And if you feel compelled to do that, it's at padsforourgirls.com. You can go there and donate. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up, Tia.
Yes, please donate. Please go to Pass for Our Girls. It's important. I'm going to go with you, Felice. I know you probably have a heart out and you got to coach somebody. So I'm going to go here.
Well, I think that we need to start rewarding people who are making really good decisions and choices, not only about themselves, but about how they treat another individual. We're all responsible about how we look out for one another, and respect should be key, right? Even regardless of what we wear or what we choose to wear, respect should be top of mind. So we need to start rewarding our boys, not just for being rough and tough and for being promiscuous, but for being smart, for being intelligent, for being kind, and for being respectful, and to really help our girls know that modesty is also sexy. That's not necessarily showing everything is that attractive, but kind of reeling it back in and giving them something to think about. That's just as sexy as well. And to have pride and respect for themselves and their temples. I am Felice Hightower Britt. I am the b.big.coach on Facebook and on Instagram. And if you go to my website, www.bebigcoach.com, you can set up a 15-minute consultation with me to see how and when we might be able to work together. And also, I have a nonprofit called States of Wellness, Inc., in which we go into all the 50 states to bridge the health disparity gaps. This has been great, great dialogue, and I'm so glad I was a part of it.
Wonderful. Space of Wellness. All right. Vanessa, what do you say? And Dr. Felice, if you have to, yep, she's going to go. All right. What do you say, Vanessa?
First of all, great show, great topic. I think it all boils down to self-worth on the men and the women's side both. I think when you value yourself, the other small, minute stuff really doesn't matter. When you have self-worth and self-value, and you have an idea of what type of person is good for you and what type of person is not good for you, I think that everything else is minute. I think that women go through all sorts of phases, and I strongly believe that we shouldn't be expected or blamed for the way that men perceive or think about us. If we know our value, if we are holding up our self-confidence and we are pouring into ourselves the way that we should, then I think that we shouldn't be relying on a man to look at us and tell us what our value is. I think that it's quite the opposite. When women value themselves, look at themselves, and they treat themselves with self-worth and self-confidence, whether they're in a tight form-fitting skirt or 21-year-old, 22-year-old going through a phase, all that doesn't matter. I mean, I think that women are beautiful. I can look at beautiful women across the board who are married with children. I'll go back to Sierra. Sierra wears sexy stuff all the time, even before, she got Russell. So I just feel like women are beautiful. They're divinely, they're feminine. And I believe there's nothing wrong with showing that with respect. I'm not talking about going out in a bikini or a G-string or some of the more kind of crazier cases that you guys are talking about, like Megan Thee Stallion. I'm just talking about showing, if you want to wear a form-fitting dress or you have a little skirt on, like, you hear people saying it's the woman's fault. It's not. We got to raise our men better, and we got to raise our women to just not accept some of the BS that the men are throwing at us. So that's my final thought, is that it boils down to self-worth, self-confidence, and what you feel about yourself at the end of the day. Because if I value myself, then I really don't care what you think, because I'm just not going to put up with the BS, period. My name is Vanessa Gopal. You can find me on Instagram at VGopal. I run a construction company in Los Angeles. We do ADUs, driveways, all sorts of stuff. So you can find all my information at VGopal. I appreciate all the comments, all the dialogue, queens. And I will see y'all next Wednesday.
Yes, indeed. Well, we thank you so much we thank you for joining us, Queens. I thank you for joining me. This was a powerful conversation. My final thought is really brief. I mean, obviously I came across this topic, and I thought it was worthy of a go round or a conversation with my queens. I feel like there is something about being distracted. There is something about not being, when you don't have all your faculties, as I've said before, when you're constantly caught up in when the next orgasm you'll feel, or how many women there are. It just made me think about what we've been talking about, how important it is to have parents in the home, how important it is for even myself to, as I'm raising a girl, to teach her that she is a prize, and I tell her these things all day long, that she is the one that will have to make a decision about who are you? Who do you want to be? I say that to you, to her all the time. Who do you want to be? How do you want people to see you? Because it depends on all of that depends on what you say and what you don't say, because people are judging you either way. And sometimes those judgments are good judgments. Sometimes the judgments are not. But either way, I want you to be mindful of the way you are, and self-aware of what you're giving. And so those are my final thoughts. So to all of us, let's just be aware of what we're giving. What you're giving. What is what you have put on today? What is it communicating about you? Because people are definitely getting the message. So my name is Tiara Williams. I'm also known as Miss Black Hollywood. This weekend on Saturday, May 17th, I am actually hosting at the Fly Nubian Money Club, the art of story selling. I want to teach you. It's so funny because last weekend we were at the Economic Elevation Summit in Miami, and Dr. Boyce said something so powerful. He said, in order for us to be able to not be basically at the mercy of our economy and all of that, is that we have to learn how to sell something. So whether you're an entrepreneur or not, you need to know how to sell something. Now, I know, people are probably thinking like, oh, but I don't know how to sell. I mean, you don't have to be salesy. But if you have a story, and you can wrap that around a product, then you can sell. I sold a story this weekend about why I decided to make an album. And literally everybody in the room, after I told the story of why I made an album, without everyone hearing the story, without everyone even hearing the music, they were like, I would buy that, because you gotta learn how to tell your story. So I'm teaching the art of story selling this weekend. Go to flynubianmoneyclub.com. We are going live 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm going to show you how to do your thing. Tell your story. Make a difference. Sell a product. All of it. flynubianmoneyclub.com. All right. Y'all, this was good. I enjoyed myself. And I want to thank you all for joining me we've seen how damaging these societal pressures can be on Black men and Black women and the relationship between us. It's time for us to stop letting society dictate our worth based on promiscuity or the lack thereof. True empowerment comes from owning who we are without shame or judgment. Let's change the narrative around sexuality, relationships, and financial success. Until next time, stay empowered, stay true to yourself, and keep building the life that you desire. We'll see you tomorrow.